There's something strange happening in my town of Evergreen Falls, Ohio. It's a charming little town, there's no doubt about that. In the fall, the leaves turn the most beautiful shades of red, orange, and yellow, and during the summer, you'll have more waterfalls to jump off than you can choose from. Overall, it's the perfect place to live, or so I thought. My whole view about this town changed for the worse last night. It was past my curfew, so I was sprinting home from my girlfriend's house, dreading walking in the door to my parents scolding me for returning home late once again. My feet crouched on every leaf in my path and caused an echo throughout the neighborhood. It reminded me of when someone drops a textbook during an exam and everybody darts around to see who made a fool of themselves. As I rounded the corner with my house now in sight, I happened to look in the window of the Andersons' brick house. I stood frozen in my tracks and confused beyond belief as I stared in to see the Andersons' teenage daughter, Melissa, knelt down in the middle of the living room. Melissa went to my school and even sat next to me in my algebra class. She would occasionally skip class from time to time to smoke cigarettes behind the school, but overall, she was a good student. Melissa's wrists were taped together in front of her with duct tape, and she had been gagged with decorative kitchen rags. The look on her face was nothing short of pure horror as her parents towered over her, their faces numb and expressionless. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more terrifying, a grotesque creature entered the room. It almost reassembled a man, with its tall slender frame, but its eyes were hollowed out and replaced by two black holes. Its teeth, long and sharp, protruding from its mouth like an anglerfish, and its skin was all dull and gray, like the color had been drained out. Its bony fingers dug into Melissa's scalp and began peeling her skin away from the entrance wound ever so carefully. The creature removed the flesh around her eyes, all the while blood dripped down her trembling body and puddled on the ground. Melissa's screams were muffled by the rag that was jammed into her mouth, but I imagine they were excruciating. I'm not gonna lie, I pissed my pants at this point and vomited all over the sidewalk and in my shoes while I was at it. I'm not embarrassed to admit it. You watch someone get their skin peeled off and see how brave you are after that. Regardless of how nauseous I felt, I couldn't turn away, at least not yet. Once the creature had Melissa's skin peeled down to her midsection, she no longer tried to scream or move. I'm pretty sure she was dead at this point. Still, it kept peeling away, using its sharp nails to saw away at little pieces that got snagged, until finally it had successfully removed her skin in one piece. The whole time her parents stood as emotionless as when it started. They didn't try to intervene, and neither had shed a tear for their now filleted daughter. Melissa lay slumped over on the hardwood floor, her raw meat exposed and veins bulging out. The creature then put its foot inside the skin suit, and then the other, pulling it up past its waist and over its head. It stared straight ahead through the eye holes of Melissa's face, out the window and into the night, at me. I didn't know if I should run or stay still. It wasn't looking at me, right? It was pitch black outside, there's no way it could be looking at me. And then, a sinister smile. Across its hideous face, almost like it was answering the question that I hadn't asked out loud yet. I ran like I had never run before. Not even the vomit squishing in my shoes could slow me down. I didn't stop until I was upstairs in my room with my covers pulled tightly over my head, like a 5-year-old afraid of monsters in a closet. My parents came up to my room a few minutes after I got home to yell at me for staying out past my curfew. I tried to explain what happened, and no surprise, they didn't believe me. They said I was making it up just to get out of trouble. All the excuses I could come up with to get out of that, and I chose my classmate getting skinned alive. Makes total sense, I know, but I'm grounded regardless. Even though nothing else unusual happened, I didn't sleep the entire night. If it wasn't for the horrific scene that was now burned into my brain for the rest of my days, I would have thought it was my imagination. Since my parents believed I was making the whole thing up, I was still sent to school although I was disturbed beyond belief. I was on edge all day and was dreading last period algebra. Honestly, I was terrified that she would come walking into a classroom. I sat at my desk quietly and on the verge of losing my lunch all over my lap. I looked up toward the classroom door and felt my heart drop into the pit of my stomach. Sure enough, right as the bell rang, Melissa strolled in. But it wasn't really Melissa. I was pretty sure of that since I had watched her die last night. She sat down next to me, letting her bag drop down to the ground, and smiled pleasantly. Everything about her looked the same. Her hair was the same shade of strawberry blonde, and her eyes as blue as ever. Maybe it was all in my head like my parents said. The rest of the class went by as normal. I was starting to think that I had just imagined it, but then Melissa passed me a note. Dear Jacob, I saw you last night staring in the window. Naughty little boys should be punished for staying out past curfew. After all, look what happened to Melissa for skipping class. We will be seeing you. My hands were trembling as I reread the letter over and over. I didn't dare look at Melissa. I could already tell she was looking at me. Her stare bored deep into my soul, it seemed. As soon as the final bell rang, I was out of school so fast I didn't even tell my girlfriend goodbye. Once I got home, I showed my mom the note that Melissa gave me. She shrugged it off and told me she was probably playing a prank on me because she had a crush. If it will make you feel better, we will talk to your dad about it when he gets home from work, she reassured. So I waited in the living room eagerly for my dad. I was sitting on the couch with a cup of hot coffee, trembling in my hands, while he walked in the front door. Hey buddy, what are you up to? My dad asked. My mom came rushing around the corner and whispered something in his ears. The look on my dad's face changed from cheerful to being annoyed. He sat down in his overly sized armchair, reading the letter, and sighed. You know, Jacob, we have tried to be patient with you. You are always staying out past your curfew and not doing what your mother and I tell you. I think it's about time that we call for help. Yes, we need help. Melissa is actually a creature who peeled off her skin and then crawled inside of it, I shouted, completely unaware of the annoyance that they both showed until after the fact. We know, sweetie. It's a type of creature that inhabits this area and is used to fix children who don't behave. The child still looks and acts the same, but they behave. It's something we have been trying to put off for a while. But you've got us with no choice, my mother explained. I'd hardly call staying out past curfew enough for a reason to rip off my flesh. Why on earth would a monster agree to walk around in a skin suit anyway? I confusedly asked. It's a chance at a normal life. When there's a child that is known as troubled, we ask for a replacement. We get a well-behaved child and they get a shot at life, my father added. I stood there in disbelief. I could barely focus on the words they were saying. That's when I started feeling dizzy. The room began to spin and I fell to my side on the couch, trying desperately to keep my eyes open. My parents' faces didn't show any concern, just like Melissa's parents the other night. I just woke up in my bed and started typing this out as quickly as possible. My parents locked my bedroom door, but I can hear them in the hallway, talking to someone on the phone. I'm pretty sure they're ordering my replacement. I don't know if I'll make it out alive, but whatever you do, stay far away from Evergreen Falls, Ohio.